Hello and welcome. This is TVC News Hour. I am Ikechukwu Obienu.
I am Azizat Olaoluwa.
I am Yemisi Lanredo with business.
I am Marco Tabo with sports.
The headlines. Displaced persons in South Sudan region in serious need of assistance. 2 Nigerians convicted for fuel subsidy fraud sentenced to 10 years in prison. Gambian President Barrow expected to return home today.
In business, Tanzanian government seeks $785 million soft loan from the World Bank to execute development projects.
And in sports, there's going to be an all-Williams final at the Australian Open for the first time in 8 years after Venus and Serena go through in Melbourne.
Thank you for joining us. The United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, said some 1,800 people displaced from their homes in the Kaja region were in serious need of assistance, as over-reliance on the host community could lead to strife.
In a joint convoy, assessment teams from UNMISS and the Intergovernmental Authority, the Authority on Development, that's IGAD's ceasefire monitoring mechanism, recently visited the makeshift camp where internally displaced people are living freely among the host community. UNMISS projects an increase in the number of IDPs as tensions in their towns were increasing and fighting in the area continued. And with resources already scarce, the teams on patrol expressed their concerns that over-reliance of the displaced on the host community could trigger a conflict.
They don't have water, they don't have food, they don't have social amenities, and they are dependent on the hosting community. So you can go for food, either buying or begging, which need to be addressed. So what we need to do is discuss with the humanitarian actors in this country, our counterparty, the UN system, the UN agencies, to see how they can come in and address the situation.
The South Sudanese rebel chief of staff has dismissed reports claiming its rebel leader Riek Machar has issued an order directing him and all the commanding officers to cease communications and briefings with 5 top commanders loyal to him. General Simon Gawek Dual, according to the statement from his office, described the reports claiming that Machar had dismissed 5 high-ranking commanders from his faction as forgery and misleading. Dual said that the reports circulated on Monday were the work of the Salva Kiir-led government, who allegedly authorized the Embassy of the South Sudan to United States of America to design, issue and circulate forged, false and misleading claims that leaders had defected from the SPLM and joined the Juba government. He said that the intention of the Juba government was to tarnish the good name of the officers and create confusion in the rank and file of the SPLM. And leaders at the 28th African Union Summit in Addis Ababa are grappling with the challenges facing young people on the continent. Now, while they have grand plans to include them in democratic processes, many challenges still remain. The leaders say rapid growth of the youth in Africa means many countries are struggling to educate their young people and, most important, find jobs for them.
Africa is regarded as the most youthful continent, with 65% of our 1 billion people below the age of 35. According to the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, the number of youth in Africa is projected to increase by 42% by the year 2030, and the current levels are likely to double by 2055. With over 10 million young Africans entering the labor market each year, there are mixed feelings on our ability as a continent to harness the dividend that should accrue from having such a huge, youthful, and also very useful population.
The invitation to the 28th Ordinary Summit here in Addis Ababa to President Barrow soon after he was sworn in as the new president of Gambia. We understood that he confirmed his attendance this morning, but that's of course barring any major complications. We don't know what will happen, whether or not he will return to Gambia. We are, of course, awaiting that. And that, of course, just depends on the situation in the country once he goes back. So the office of the commission here says, while he has confirmed his attendance, we'll have to see if he does come for the meeting at the weekend, where, of course, the new chairperson of the African Union Commission will be elected.
All right, apart from the Gambia, what other discussions do you think will be high on AU's agenda?
Definitely think the situation in Somalia will be high on the AU's agenda this weekend. It's a very worrying situation. The Commission for Political Affairs, during that briefing, Dr. Abdullah, saying that the AU expresses its condolences to the people who lost some of their family members during that bombing yesterday, saying the situation in Somalia continues to be very worrying. There's issues around the peacekeeping force there. And of course, the situation in South Sudan will be top of the agenda as well as the situation in Burundi. Just some of the things that the Commission is expected to discuss at the weekend.
Now, Valde, the summit this year focuses on youth empowerment. Tell us about the discussion that will be whipped around this.
It's quite interesting to me that they're talking about youth, but you don't actually see a lot of young people around and in some of these briefings. While there is a representation of young people, you find that the briefings are generally by older people. So for me, that has been quite ironic, and something to just notice that they're talking about all of these challenges faced by young people on the continent. They're saying that around 38 of the 54 member states have actually naturalized some of the AU's national youth policies. But a lot more needs to be done in order to improve the education system on the continent for young people to make a meaningful contribution. They're saying that the voter participation, the AU's noticed that the voter participation by young people is tapering off dramatically as people become helpless and hopeless, and the status quo remains. They remain locked out of the job market, and they don't have access to what the AU terms decent work. And the severe effect of this is that a lot of young people, particularly young women, continue to suffer on the continent, and that is something that's really preoccupying policymakers here.
All right, Voli Karasa, correspondent, giving us update from the venue of the AU summit. Thank you very much indeed. We'll get back to you in subsequent bulletins to give us further updates on the happenings there. All right, this is TVC News Hour. We'll take a break at the moment, and when we come back, we'll bring you more stories after that. Do stay with us.